We are back. Welcome back, everybody. As we got the little bit of a technical difficulty taken care of, let me know if you guys, by chance, hear me again. Uh, don't mean to have it set up all weird. Let's take a look here.
Hi Axel, what's up, bro?
Hey, how are you? How are you
I'm
doing?
fine. I'm good. And you? How are you today? Are you okay? Ah, okay. I'm not. This is a not inconvenient time to you. Yeah. My first name is Danilo. Danilo Onisto. Yeah. It's an Italian name, so don't worry about it. Yeah. Okay.
Sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. We are back and we are back in action as we get going here into this race. We're going to see what we can do for everybody as we get going. As we work our way through, we see Artem working his way onto the front straight. Let's take a look at what he can do in his lap times. He slots into P4 in this race as we keep working our way around and seeing how everybody goes. Um, Trying to figure out why I got a little bit of reverb in my headset, but that is something we will have to figure out later on for this race. So let's take a work now. Let's see who is on a fast lap. Uh, we have Ronan Mauricio. He is up 4 tenths right now. That will definitely drive into Farmer, which is only separating himself by 3 tenths now in P2. We're going to work our way back down the grid. Bruce Hopkins up 7 tenths um, in that Aston Martin as he works his way around here in this grid. So we'll definitely have to keep an eye on that as well as he goes through. Let's see what we can do here in this race. Definitely be awesome to see how everybody. And let's definitely. Hey, we're back. I managed to fix the stream quality, audio quality. Man, I'm good at what I can do. at times. So, and here we got the cars driving around, and we are working our way through everything in this grid. We see Bruce Hopkins coming across. He's about 1/10 off the pace of Josh Kimball as he works his way through. Now let's take a bigger drive down. And here we have Andrew Jaschke in that Rufgo Audi. He's about 1 second up on his time as he works his way around that bend, and he comes through in the Audi. As we see a little bit of dirt off the track, it was that Porsche up in the grid order working his way through. And he will definitely have to keep an eye on him to see how he performs when he comes through the second to last corner, working his way around the bend and onto the main straight. Here he goes. He's going running super wide. He's going to get a massive toe out of the Porsche driver. See what he can do. Slots himself P11. Wow. Very close to Leclerc, but he's 2/10 ahead of Ricky Scott as Ricky Scott has joined us in. Andrew Cooper, who he's really far off the pace, down in P21. Louis is one of the drivers that we still have yet to see set a lap time in this race. Definitely have to see what he can do in this BMW. He showed up and had a very strong performance when he was racing in Snetterton. Definitely made a wonderful move on the outside of Blue Flag, who Mr. John Bowling, but he is not racing with us today. So let's keep an eye on here. He is still yet to set a time, so we'll definitely have to keep an eye. Hopefully he can put in a valid lap time as he's going around. He's 1/10 up on his time right now. He was doing a 38.3, and a 38.3 would slot him right around P17, right behind Josh Kimball and ahead of Bruce Hopkins. Definitely see if he can keep that momentum going. He's still looking in the positives with that BMW, working into that deep braking zone. He's got a massive Porsche, catches a lot of that curb there as he bends it around the bend here. Huge shout out to All Wolf here in the chat. The driver from Singapore couldn't make it. 2/10 up. Here comes Louis onto the back straight. See what he can do as he's about to cross the line. Boom, P16. Now he slots himself ahead of Josh Kimball. Definitely regaining a lot of that pace. Let's see who else is ahead of the track time. Alexandre Leclerc. He is up on his time in the P11 position in that Lexus. There's only 2 Lexus drivers that are racing with us, and that is Alex here and Kevin Terrans down in that P21 spot. So hopefully the Lexus driver here can reel in and Casey Bennett. And the overall is Alex are doing, it puts his Aston Martin up at the top position here at GTMR Racing. I apologize for the earlier technical difficulties, ladies and gentlemen. But we're gonna definitely get you guys all taken care of as Alexandre runs it super deep there, catching a little bit of the dirt, but it does not look like he's been able to salvage much on it. As we see Bruno Pio, we're gonna jump along board that McLaren driver here as he's working his way through. This is going to be a second race in the league in P7. He is up 2/10 on his time as he's coming through the Sector 3 part. He's going to have Josh Kimball in that ARC Mods Mercedes-Benz work his way through here. So he works around the bend. Let's see if he can keep it nice and tight here. He's still up 2/10, but that 2/10 is going to put him in that top 11, top 5 spot. And that's definitely going to help him in the big time gain here. As he's about to cross the line, Josh Kimball moves out of the way. It was going to let the McLaren driver through, but the McLaren driver didn't know what was going on. But that's okay. And it looks like we do not. We got a purple Aston Martin. That's going to be Danilo Anisto, Brazilian driver. I believe it's Brazilian. I apologize on that. Yeah, he is a Brazilian driver, ladies and gentlemen. His name comes from the Italian language. We had a beautiful talk about that in the chat prior to the race. So huge shout out to him. We'll definitely see how he's going to perform at Indianapolis in that bluish purplish McLaren. As we have Andre Alex Afonso in that Aston Martin. Huge shout out to this driver. He races in ARC as well as GTMR. He is looking super strong as he's working his way through the grid. He's P14. He's looking to possibly move up a little bit. He's 1/10 up on his time. That'll bring him in closer to Ricky Scott. Ooh, he found 4/10 in that corner. Can he hold it? Through the hairpin, he's looking super strong. He found 5. 5 can skip Ricky Scott. See what he can do onto the main straight. Ooh, looked like he lifted just a pinch coming on. And across the line, he skips Ricky Scott, puts himself into P13. Casey Bennett, the Porsche driver. He's looking super strong. He and I will be, and I'm going to declare it right now, he and I will be racing Porsches going into next season as well. Will probably most likely be really cool teammates, but he is up 4/10. That 4/10 will put him by Michelle in that P8 spot. So he has found the pace in this Porsche. So let's see if he can hold on to it. Looks like it's trailing just a little bit. Can he build it into the straight line? Ooh, so close on his time, but does not improve. Wow, look at this separation between 9 and 11. 0.007 separation between those drivers there. What a beautiful separation. Now we're going to keep an eye on these drivers as they work their way around. As we see Andrew Cooper, he is 1.7 second, 1.8 now getting on the main straight. He can really leapfrog this grid and get into that P18 spot here in this race. And he does. He slots himself P18, 3/10 off the pace of Josh Gimble, 2/10 ahead of Bruce Hopkins. So he's definitely finding the pace that he needs. As we see now, Andre Alex Afonso is up 8/10, and he's working his way out of the back end of the corner. 8/10 is going to put him in the top 10 spot. Even further up the grid order, these are some big movers we're starting to see late in the qualifying session with about 6 minutes left. Slots himself P8 ahead of Michelle and right behind Artem in that Aston Martin. Now Casey Bennett, 4/10. Here he comes through in Sector 2. He's going to come up to the Sector 3 section. It's going to be a very deep braking zone for the Porsche as he goes into this corner here, trying to avoid that inner curb because that inner curb is going to shoot him off. Ooh, he's lost the time coming into this hairpin piece, but the question is whether or not he's going to be regaining. And all right, Wolf, I also have news. What is the news, Wolf? If it's one of those secret ones that you can only tell me in the Discord, join us in the Discord, or if you can say it in the chat, say it in the chat. Let's make everybody a part of the news. Wolf, as we work their way through, Casey Bennett now P10 was not able to improve his time. He found all this time on the track, but was not able to improve it. Farmer now sliding himself up to P1 in a 135.2, 2/10 ahead of Alex. The question is, how much can he convert that into the race? We've seen him have pace, but has lost it out due to certain things on the track. Casey Bennett is still up 2/10 here in the infield, so we're going to ride along board him because he is the fastest. Brian Douglas, our 26 driver, has joined us. He seems like he has made it home from work, so we'll have to do a huge shout out. Casey Bennett's going to call it a day there. But Andrew Jaschke is up a 10th here. Let's see if he can convert this a little bit more as he's coming through. We have a yellow sector. Ooh, running it super wide, catching a little bit of that dirt. Let's see. Does he improve? He does not improve this, so he's going to stay P13. We still have 4 minutes and 32 seconds left. Let's see the top drivers. Farmer are doing and Tuda all off the pace. We have Fernandez, the driver that we haven't talked about, lady. This is your championship leader with 71 points to Farmer's 60. He's came out super strong here. He's sitting P4, about 5/10 off the pace of Farmer. But, hey, during the races, his race pace is looking super strong. As Wolf says, unfortunately, this might be my final season in the league. Oh, my gosh. We need that. You know what, Wolf? I understand you're working on your pilot's license, but hey, you know what? You let me know. We'll always have a seat open for you to get you in, to get you racing with us. All right, buddy? And if you want to join me in the comms booth, join me in the comms booth. That is definitely something we can get you in here. And now we're going to jump up with Bruce Hopkins. Bruce Hopkins is 3/10 up on his time as he's working his way around the track. He's going to have Fernandez behind him. Oh, Bruce Hopkins is going to abort that lap even though he was 3/10 up. Let's take a look here. Matt Artem, a driver we haven't talked about, he's just crossed the line. He's going to slot himself P3. Alex Arduin, he's up 2/10. Can he find one more? The track just keeps getting faster and faster with 3 minutes left to play, everybody, as he works his way around here in sector 2 here, looking nice and tight with that Aston Martin going super deep here. He's still up a 10th on his time. Looks like he lost a 10th, but can he gain it in the S's? For those that aren't used to Indianapolis, you have to be super tight through these curbs. You want to hold usually second gear and just a hook, and on this corner here, you want to cut as much as you can. Tuda now 2/10 back from Farber, cutting Arden by .007. Arduin is just trying to keep his P2 to keep it closer. He's still up a 10th. What can he do coming out of that corner? Now here up to the hairpin, he's kind of bouncing up and down on his fastest lap. Doesn't look like he's gained much getting onto the main straight. So we're going to ride along Tuda with the 2 minutes left here very shortly. Nope. Does not improve. Now we're going to slide back down the grid order and see what we can do and get. Ricky Scott now up 4/10. Oh, as Yort has fell off the board here with Ricky Scott still 2/10 now up as he goes through the S's, spitting flames out of that McLaren, working his way through the grid. He's going to have Alan Zhu in front of him and Tuda right behind him as they work their way through. Tuda is not improving on his time, but Alan Zhu looks like he possibly maybe. Alan Zhu's pretty much breaking even, so Alan Zhu's going to try everything he can to gain as much speed and get across that line to improve his lap. Ricky Scott still up 3/10. 3/10 here will slide him up there into that P10, 11, and 12 spot. Let's see what he can do onto the main straight. Can he get a big fat toe out of the Porsche? Ooh, he only improves a 10th. That's going to slot him even closer to dominant square, and Josh Kimball. He's coming up through the final quarters. As we hear Wolf says, it's because I'm starting work, which collides with the races. Don't worry about that, Wolf. We are going to be looking at ways of improving and opening the races here at GTMR to get more people in on days that they cannot race. As Josh Kimball slots himself to P16. He is about a 10th ahead of Stefan Buckley. Let's take a look who else is on a faster lap here as we work our way through the grid. Andrew Jaschke, 4/10. He's going to have Bruno Pio right behind him as they work their way through, but Andrew's probably not going to want to give up that lap as he's faster now, but Pio is also faster on his lap as well, so both of these drivers improving. Pio up by 2, Andrew Jaschke up by 3, coming up to the corner, up to the final hairpin as they work their way through. Andrew Jaschke around the bend. Here he starts to accelerate out. He's still up 3, Pio up 1, but will the McLaren driver behind him get the toe to move up a little bit further? Andrew Jaschke looking to leapfrog a few of these drivers, and he does. Slots himself P10. Farmer still P1. Oh, Pio on the inside. Pio sliding himself P5 as we go through. Qualifying's over, but we're going to see where the big movers are. Josh Kimball still up 3/10 coming out of the final sector 3. Super late in the braking, trying to hook it around. Can he gain his time? He still has 3/10. He's going to try to hook as much as he can around this bend to get onto the main straight. 3/10 for him will reel him a little bit closer to Louis in that P15 spot and onto the main back straight. Here he goes. And it slots him P16, ladies and gentlemen, as they work their way through the grid order. Brian Douglas, 6/10, sector 3. This is going to be his hot lap as he goes through. 8/10 now, working his way through. Around the bend as they work their way up the grid. Let's see. 1 second. Brian Douglas could leapfrog. He put him in P20. And it does. P20. What amazing job right there. Let's see if we have any other fast movers. We do not have any more fast movers in the grid order. So as we wait for qualifying session to end with these drivers, does Pio? Pio is going to sit on the grid. He is complete. Does not look like we have any flyers here. Let's take a look. Andrew Cooper. Yep, nope, he's complete with his time. So interesting run there. So now we're going to wait for the rest of the drivers. Let's take a look. Farmer, your pole sitter, P1. Mathis Tuda, he's going to be sitting P2. Let's take a look and run down the grid here, ladies and gentlemen, as we jump along board. Farmer. Let's take a look on the outside as we go through here. Speed this up a little bit. And there you go. Oh, Jesus. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, crap. There's Farmer in the NSX. Mathis Tuda in that black Ferrari, showcasing Alex Arduin, slotting himself P3, looking like a super strong competitor in the overall championship. Matt Artem bringing himself P4. Bruno slotted himself P5. Afonso bringing it up to P6. Fernandez falling back the grid order in the P7, so he's going to definitely dig deep. Mauricio is looking in that P8 position. Michelle, we'll see if he can definitely bring himself to a top 3 finish, because he was looking super strong at Donington Park last race. He's sitting there in the P9. Andrew Jaschke taming that Audi, sliding himself P10. Casey Bennett a P11 in that Porsche. Yort P12. Huge shout out to him and his team that did, I believe, a 8-hour endurance race here this past week. That's why he wasn't there at the Donington Park. So he definitely has a lot of laps here. Lecruc in P13. Ricky Scott P14 in that Knox McLaren. Louis bringing in that P15. Josh Kimball definitely slotting into that P16. We'll definitely have to see how his race pace performs. Stephon Buckley, 17. Bruce Hopkins, 18. Andrew Cooper, 19. Brian Douglas, 20. Tim Wilkins, 21. Alan Zhu, 22. Kevin Rotz, 23. Danilo, I can't believe I'm going to botch it. Onisto, he is P24. Then we've got, it looks to be, I can't believe I forgot his name. In P25, and Dominant Square in P26. Now this is really going to mess me up, because now I'm really going to have to go take a look at this, and I apologize, ladies and gentlemen, on this. Let's take a look at James Parks. I apologize, James Parks. I'm probably going to get roasted in the Discord in a second by James Parks as we wait for the drivers to get going here in this race. Look at that beautiful camera shot all the way down that front straight at the Indianapolis. I have been here multiple times. I believe 2 times for the Indy 500, so that does count as multiple. And it is just such a wonderful track. Wonderful track. Beautiful performance by these drivers here in qualifying session, and the drivers will start on their formation lap as they work their way out of the grid here and they get going. So we'll definitely have to keep an eye on everybody as they get going. And here they start rolling out. We're going to switch it up to Helicam. I will be right back as it should be time to start the race. Ladies and gentlemen, I am back, and that was, I don't know if you saw what I just saw, but that was crazy. The Audi of Andrew Jaschke just lost it in this middle of the track and sent himself to the wall. Ladies and gentlemen, I am highly disappointed in this driver. Very disappointed in this man right here in this Audi for yeeting himself into a wall as these drivers are trying to warm up their tires as much as possible. Hopefully he didn't get a whole lot of damage as the drivers start lining up here and they get going. This is going to be an interesting one to say the least. Here they work their way through. Farmer's going to be on the inside. Tuda's going to be on the outside. Farmer's definitely going to have to try to work something out as they get going here in this race. I have to keep an eye on this as they work their way up. As we wait for the lights to go green, we're going to be jumping into possibly helicam. We'll go back to the normal cam here, ladies and gentlemen, to see the turn one action. 31 degrees Celsius. The track is at noon. It is sunny and it is ready to go as we get started here. We wait for the green lights. Tuda already has a drive-through, and it is green lights ready to go. So this is definitely going to be an interesting one. Is Tuda going to send it on Farmer as the race started? Wilson's definitely looking on the inside. Alex is looking on the outside. He's going to shut the door on Artem, and they're going to work their way through into turn one, side by side. Ooh, looks like there was a little bit of a loss of a car. The McLaren Pio goes off the track as we start to see some of these drivers. Mauricio looked like he had a little bit of an issue into turn one, trying to filter his way into the track as they go through. As Jaschke is looking to try to make a move, that is really tight as they work their way through. Down in the back of the order as we see Ricky Scott working his way. Looks like Tuda backed out of, he's going to have to serve his drive-through here. So he's here at this race. The pit lane is super long for those that do not know, and it's definitely going to be a hard one for a lot of these drivers to work their way through. As we see in the back of the grid, looks like Brian Douglas trying to make something happen. Down on the inside of Kevin Torrance, there's Casey Bennett as they work their way through. Casey Bennett down to P21. Oh, looks like Ricky Scott and Mauricio had a little bit of a tapping issue there possibly in this race. So a lot of these drivers filtering around the grid are definitely trying to work up their pace and their performance as they go through. There you see Tim Wilkins ahead of Brian Douglas as he works his way through there. But, ooh, Josh Kimball losing to Andrew Cooper. Tim Wilkins just pulling out on the track in front of everybody right there. That's definitely really, as Kevin Torrance gets spun there a little bit as they work their way through here. Alex he is trying to work his way through. Looks like Farmer stripped his lead to 1.8 seconds. And Tuda still having the drive-through, but everybody's still kind of locking themselves in this competition battle here as they go through. Afonso losing it a little bit, so that's going to allow Michelle through. We see Jaschke in this battle as well, as some of these drivers definitely having a little bit of a hard time trying to work their way through the grid, through this track here and trying to file in as they race. Here we see we've got Bruce Hopkins. He's going to have Casey Bennett in front of him with Andrew Cooper right behind him. Andrew Cooper going to try to make something happen. Fernandez is in the pits. Looks like Fernandez is possibly going to try to fix as much as he can and try to recover from his drive. Andrew Cooper trying to squeeze the door here on Bruce Hopkins, but makes him work for it. And there he has to try to check up and catch himself. There, let's take a look back down the order. Ooh, Onisto having a lot of damage, but he's going to have Kevin Torrance and Alex right behind him, which is going to be an interesting one because we know Alex qualified a lot higher in the position, so a lot of these drivers are going to have to try to work their way back up the grid as Casey has managed to separate himself. Bruce looking on the inside of Brian Douglas as they work their way through the grid order as well. Let's take a look. Alex still 1.8 seconds off the pace of Farmer. Still has yet to drop him. Tuda is now serving his drive-through, so he stretched that as far as he possibly can. Bruce Hopkins still looking to try to make something happen coming up here. Josh Kimball, one of the big qualifying positions where he was sitting, he slid himself to P19, so he's going to try to recover this race as well as much as he can. Artem looking like he's going to have a little bit of damage. Bruce Hopkins covers the inside, makes Cooper think about it, has to check up out of the brakes. Now the question is, how much damage did Matt Artem get in the opening parts of these races? As Pacific Northwest Simsport says, just something terrific. Yes, just something terrific. That is true to an extent. As we work their way through the grid order, let's take a look. As we see, oh, that was Buckley. Oh man, Buckley. What a shame, Buckley. What a shame. Let's see, Andrew Cooper. He's kind of checked out with Bruce Hopkins now pushing the pace onto Brian Douglas here on the mid-pack as they go through. Let's see what Bruce Hopkins can do. We're going to keep an eye on the rest of the battles on the grid to see as Alex has the fastest lap, and he's only 1.6 off the pace. Hopkins getting a beautiful run, having to check out of that with Douglas covering the inside. Now Andrew Cooper's going to have to cover the brakes there. Ooh, super late deep run right there by that Honda. This right here is the closest battle other than Lecroix and Kevin Tarrance, but it looks like Lecroix got past Kevin Tarrance on the back end of the screen there as they work their way through, so we'll definitely have to keep an eye on how these drivers file themselves in here in this race. Josh Kimball with Danilo Onisto in this battle here as we see Alan Zhu going super wide over the grass there, trying to make something happen. The McLaren driver kind of cover as much as he possibly can. As Josh Kimball's now kind of started to find the rhythm in the groove that he needs to in this race to move himself up the grid order. Alan Zhu covering the brakes a little much just to get on the back end of the purple McLaren. But we're going to be jumping back up a little bit further the grid order to continuously see that fight of the P11, 12, and 13 driver, and to see how well this works out as these drivers work their way through. Oh, and Alan Zhu sends it deep. What a beautiful move. Last minute reaction and call, but it seems like he just cooked his tires too much. And Onisto is going to make his way through poor Alan Zhu. Oh, that would have been amazing if he got that to stuck. Now Tim Wilkins is going to try to make the fight back to him as he reeled him in. And there we see Mathis Tuda in the background. Going to try to reel in a lot of these drivers on the front grid based on his pace. And if he can do that here, as Alan Zhu still trying to work it around Onisto. But let's take a look at Bruce Hopkins as they go through. Looks like Matt Artem had a little bit of an issue. He had to check out in about 3 minutes. Pit lane's going to open up, so I'm curious on who's going to be serving their pits. Mauricio must have fixed damage because he is down 2 laps in this race, but he can recover as he's racing in this race. And they work their way through. Bruce Hopkins about 7. Oh, Andrew Cooper catches the back end of Bruce Hopkins. He's going to wait for him to get going there, and that's going to throw him up a little bit, and they're going to drop a few places here, but that's good driving there. I mean, it's a you never want to see anybody rear end anybody and ruin their race, but it's always wonderful to see drivers waiting for the other driver to get going here. Now let's jump aboard Casey Bennett. Casey Bennett right behind the endurance driver of Chrysler York. Porsche versus McLaren. Let's see what Casey Bennett can do here as they battle it out down into the infield turns here through the S's. That Porsche getting a beautiful run out of that corner. And then McLaren's kind of suffering a little bit. It's got to try to lock itself in. Casey Bennett's trying to get as many points as they possibly can, working their way through the grid order. And Louis up into P6. Big mover for him, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to drop back down to Alan Zhu here shortly. It doesn't look like there's a huge improvement here in this battle. So we're going to jump down in the order. And here comes Alan Zhu all over the back end. And Tuda is all over the back end of Tim Wilkins. So there is a double battle here, ladies and gentlemen, as Ricky Scott dives into the pits. So looks like question is Ricky Scott getting the fix that he needs to in this grid, or Alan Zhu's going to try the outside of that turn? Doesn't look like he's going to make it stick. Is he going to send it on the inside? The space wasn't there. Can he get the run out of the corner? He's got Tim Wilkins in tow with Tuda in tow. This battle for P18, 19, 20, and 21 is developing super strong as these drivers are working their way through. Is Tuda going to try to switch back on Tim Wilkins? He's looking to go for the inside. Alan Zhu's looking to go to the inside. Deep into the braking zone. Both drivers go. Oh, Onisto covers it. Tuda down on the inside. Tim now. Oh, Alan Zhu managing to survive and save his car. He's going to get past Onisto. But then that's going to allow Tim Wilkins and Mathis Tuda. Mathis Tuda thought he was going to have it completely locked and set to go. So now Mathis Tuda is going to have to try to recover and try to rebuild what he's got here in this race as they work their way around. And here they come through. Mathis Tuda catching a lot more curbing than what Tim Wilkins usually does. And Mathis Tuda trying to go around the long way. So he's going to try to rush in as much as he can to force Tim Wilkins to play his hand. And is Tuda going to send it super deep? He does send it super deep. Catches a little bit of the curve. Tim Wilkins is possibly going to have to check out side by side. Here they go. Ooh, Tim Wilkins is going to have to check up right behind him. And here comes Alan Zhu. Alan Zhu all over the back end of Tim Wilkins as they work their way through. Tim Wilkins trying to hold that car in as the pit window opens up. The question is who's going to pit early for strategy right now, possibly get something fixed. Our Tim's in the pits to get fixed. The P10 driver is going to cycle down, but he's probably going to recover for a lot of those drivers that are deciding not to pit. And we're possibly going to jump up to watch the race with Bruno Pio and Louis but this battle is developing here as Alan Zhu's getting a beautiful run onto the main straight. He's going to look for the inside move on Tim Wilkins. It looks like he's going to possibly make it stick. Is he going to try to outbrake the Mercedes? He does not outbrake the Mercedes as Bruno Pio gets past Louis. Looks like Louis possibly could have cooked his tires, but the battle back here was developing. We couldn't fully pull away as Casey Bennett slotted himself up pretty well. And it looks like Chrysler York possibly lost it a little bit. Well, let's take a look as Andrew Lacroix. He's got Chrysler York all over the back end of him. Josh Kimball slotted himself P15 now as he's trying to do a recovery race here for himself as they work their way through. As Alex still 1.6 seconds off the pace of Farmer. Farmer still has yet to shake him now. As these drivers are working their way through the track, York still sitting there in the back. He loses it out of the hole, but it seems like he manages to save himself on the infield. So let's take a look back down this grid order and see how Alan Zhu is doing with Tim Wilkins. And it seems like these drivers managed to separate themselves. Let's take a look at Tuda. Tuda now all over the back of James Parks. Tuda's going to send it on the inside, work his way through. James Parks going, hey, I know you're a faster driver. I'm not going to try to ruin your race. Right now, my battle's with Andrew Cooper as James Parks catches a lot of that dirt. He's going to cover the inside. Andrew Cooper now trying to get a beautiful run on James Parks. He's going to look on the inside of the Camo NSX. Can he make it? Sticking in the background, you can see that battle between Tim Wilkins and Alan Zhu developing. Andrew Cooper going to send it down the inside. James Parks leaves the door open, lets him through here. James Parks now through the corner as they go. This track is developing as we see Afonso. Afonso has started to work his way up to Michelle. He's about a second back, ladies and gentlemen. So let's take a look at that real quick. He's a second back from the Mercedes driver of Michelle. And things can develop a little bit more as we work and see how everything is playing out. And Wilson Fernandez has called it a race. What a shame there for that driver. Ricky Scott has called it a race as well. Mauricio is still in this battle, even 2 laps down. Dominant square. He's still in the fight even though he's P21. But let's take a back up here in this battle as Andre Afonso has reeled in Michelle to 6/10. Oh my God, something happened with Farmer. The battle for the lead of the race, 6/10. I apologize, everybody. Arduin is now 6/10 off the back of Farmer. We have Dominant Square in front of him. Farmer's trying to get his way through. He does. Dominant Square gives the leaders a space that he needs. Now Farmer's going to have to try to figure out something as Arduin is chasing him down as fast as possible. This is like Snetterton all over again, ladies and gentlemen. Arduin is definitely taking the pressure towards Farmer, and Arduin wants to leapfrog him in the championship series, and Farmer is definitely going to have something. With this race, Farmer is going to have to make something happen. Arduin looking on the inside. Ooh, outside. Farmer not knowing, is he going to close the door a little bit? He does. He covers the inside, gives the space for Alex to make his move. Alex getting a beautiful run. He's going to look outside. He's going to try the wide line. Here he goes. Does the switchback work for him? It does not. Here they work their way through onto the main straight. Both drivers. We see Farmer taking the conservative inside line. Arduin taking the more aggressive outside line to get that run onto the main straight as they go through. Ooh, Alex looks at, is he going to throw Farmer off on a late break, try to make him have a mistake? He does not look like he makes a mistake. So a lot of, for the drivers, what they'll do is they'll try to do a little bit of a switch and a bait and grab to try to get the driver in front of them to either brake super late, which is going to cause them to have a little bit of a mistake, or they're going to just not have a mistake. As they work their way through, the battle for P17 is developing with Tim Wilkins 8/10 off Andrew Cooper with James Parks and Alan Zhu in that battle. For P16, we're going to possibly jump down there in a second, but right now this battle is looking ferociously with Alex all over the back end of Farmer as they work their way through the grid. They are definitely have separated themselves from P3 and P4. About 13-second gap separates them. Here we go. Can Alex make something happen? He had a beautiful run on Farmer prior, but it looked like he was too close to make something stick. Farmer's going to go super wide. Here comes Alex. Here goes the switchback. Does that mess up Farmer's line? Alex getting a better line out of the hole. It's going to force Farmer to cover the inside. Here they go. Onto the back straight. Ooh, Farmer utilizing all the track to keep Alex behind him. He's going to try to wiggle the car a little bit to throw him off, but Alex knows Farmer's going to have to pick a weird line to go into the corner. Will this give Alex the run that he needs on Farmer to get through the corner? Oh, Farmer catching the dirt. That's going to give Alex the run. The door closes, but Alex throws the car on the inside. It's going to give him the line. Farmer's going to have to concede the corner a little bit because he knew he wasn't going to be able to make the move. Here they go through back into. Now they leapfrogged each other. Can Alex separate himself from Farmer? Farmer was complaining a little bit that his tires were going out as Alex slides there a little bit from tire deck as they work their way through the infield and onto the center section of the track. Here they go. Farmer still has the fastest lap, but will the NSX get the run that he needs? He takes a look on the inside, tries to fake it, can't make it stick. Alex sticks his line as he goes through here. Michelle now close in 2 seconds on the two drivers. So that's going to bring it down to 11.9. So as these two drivers battle it out and have to play the defensive card, it's going to allow the back markers to reel them in a little bit further. So this may help them all in the overall championship fight here. And the Farmer going super late. Ooh, having to check up a little bit there before catching that curb there as they come through the hairpin piece and onto the back straight as they work their way through. Now Alex now separated to 4/10. Question is, did Farmer cook his tires too much to where this is now going to throw him off the pace? Because it does not look like Farmer is reeling him in the overall pace. Down into the braking zone as they go in here. Farmer getting a better run than the Aston Martin into turn 1. But Alex can get out of the hole a little bit quicker. The gap's still 5/10 here in this beginning of this race here. But that Aston Martin is looking, it's weird. It's like skidding, but it's also locked in at the same time as they work their way through the grid here. But let's drop back down. We're going to possibly take a look at Mathis Tuda on Kevin Tarrant, and it looks like he has made it work there. So Mathis Tuda with the early drive-through, definitely recovering his drive, as Brian Douglas and Chrysler York still battling it out, as Arduin has now separated Farmer by 8/10 in this race. So that is definitely going to be a close call there. Well, did Farmer cook his tires too much and now he's off the pace and now his strategy's messed up? Or is he just kind of cooling off his tires a little bit before he takes the battle back to Arduin, as we start to see the time start to tickle down? But we'll keep an eye on that as its time start to develop here in this race, as we see Brian Douglas looking nice and tight here in Indy. They go through. We still have 40 minutes left to play, everybody. So we have Onisto. He is 6/10 off the pace of Parks here in this race. Kevin Tarrant still 7/10. There's Matt Artem. He's the only driver that has served his pit. So he's trying to do the super undercut even with all the damage, as Dominant Square gets a 30-second stop go there. What a horrible thing for him right there. Let's take a look at these leaders, as it seems like York has found his pace to separate himself from Hypersonic. He does, but look at, we have Farmer now 5/10. The gap is partially closing. Here they work their way through. Ooh, nice and tight through the lines. NSX, Aston Martin. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the closest battle we have, and it looks like Farmer overshot his braking marker. So that's going to give Alex a little bit of a breathing room in P1, as we now have reached the 39-minute mark. As we go through, for the viewers that are watching, if there's a driver that you'd like to see, give them a huge shout out here in this race. But right now we're going to go down the grid here, and of course Alex Arduin in that Aston Martin number 51. What a huge job. He made that move a little bit early, as now Farmer is now to 1.1 second of a gap. So Alex is going to have a little bit of a breather here in this race. We're going to drop down. There's Farmer in P2 in the Honda 936. Jacob Michelle in the Mercedes-Benz AMG number 7. That gray and purple, looking strong with a podium here, with Andre Alex Afonso sitting there P4 in the 999 car, and Andrew Jaschke P5 in that Audi, but he's going to have Bruno Pio right behind him, definitely pushing to try to make something happen in this race. P6 number 14, and then the 918, Casey Bennett in that Porsche sitting there P7, trying to make something happen, as we see Alan Zoot dive into the pits. So he's definitely looking for a little bit of strategy. Louis, number 12 car, sitting there. As we see Pacific Northwest Sim Sports, it's a long race for the leaders. It is a super long race for the leaders. Now, a lot of the issues here also is for Louis, as he has Mauricio right behind him, and Mauricio is a fast driver who out-qualified Louis in this race. So now he's going to want to try to get past Louis to push himself a little bit further up the grid. But, I mean, if it was me, I'd be like, all right, I'm kind of in my little zone. I'll let you through, Mauricio. And then kind of just be able to, just race and be on my, be by myself. But at the same time, Louis probably a little bit lonely, wanting someone to race with him. Now Farmer's down 1.3 seconds. Very interesting. I think Farmer's tires possibly could have dropped dramatically. Now 1.5. I think Farmer's tires have completely shot and lost him in this race based on his setup. As we see Alexandre P9, the 196 car, and our P10 Chrysler York in 823, working his way through in this grid. Andrew Jaschke, the first of the big front leaders, diving into the pits. everybody. As we see Farmer, he is now 1.5 seconds off the pace. He's probably trying to conserve his tires for a later pit stop, but this is just, it's not helping him much, because if he has an issue with the pits, like he did at Donington Park where he was having an issue with the engaging, this could hurt him overall. Now we're going to drop back down. We're going to take a look at Bruce Hopkins and Josh Kimball in that Mercedes. They are all over the back end of Kevin Tarrant's in that Lexus as they work their way through the grid here and onto the main straight. This battle is developing as Josh Kimball is trying to look to possibly to make something happen on that Aston Martin. He's got a beautiful run up to turn one. Is he going to try to switch it and go into the heavy braking zone? He doesn't. For those that do not know, Josh Kimball, the owner of ARC, has been working viciously in iRacing to prepare for the ARC IMSA series, where he'll be racing the P2 car. Oh, as he tries the inside of Bruce Hopkins, side by side they go. Bruce partially tries to close the door, catches the dirt. Kimball's losing the back end partially. Can he switch back here? This will be a beautiful run if Bruce Hopkins goes super wide. Does not, but he still manages to stay locked in with him in this race. Back to what I was originally saying, he has been practicing a lot on this series for the race here, and he was telling me that he was worried that he was going to blow the beginning corner, but thankfully Kunos has added a billion barriers at the start of the series, so he doesn't have to worry about blowing a corner and destroying the car. So that's a good sign here as these three drivers are starting to tighten back up in this race and work their way through, as Dominant Square seems to not have served the stop and go, as he's 5 laps down already, and they go through here. So Andrew Jackson comes out P19 after all of that, which is super interesting. And Farmer now 1.7 seconds off the pace, as Afonso's still 0.7 off. Here we see Kimball. Does he get a better run? Onto the front straight. He's looking to try to do the outside, force Hopkins' hand. Kevin Tarrant covers. Super deep into the braking zone. You can definitely see Bruce Hopkins trying to make something happen. He loses it a little bit. Looks like he went a little deep. 1.9 now for Farmer. I believe Farmer has possibly lost his tires dramatically. Don't see a way of him recovering from this other than now 2.1. Now other than him just pushing super hard. Josh Kimball looks on the inside. Bruce leaves the door open. Now they go side by side. Bruce is going to have the inside. Kimball's on the outside. Here they go around the bend. Michelle in the pits. Kimball's going to get the better run. Kevin Tarrant's now on the inside. 3. Now here comes the drag race down into the turn. Kevin Tarrant still covers the inside. That's going to have Kimball check up right behind them. As we see Michelle, he dives into the pits with that P7 Mercedes. Louis dives into the pits, the number 7 car. Josh Kimball still making something happen with Kevin Tarrant. Looks like Bruce Hopkins killed his pace a little bit here in this race. Oh, down into the corner they go. Looks like the P10 and P11 of Michelle and Louis are falling down the order. That Lexus looking super strong coming out of the corner and onto the main straight they go. Bruce Hopkins isn't going to get a run, but Kimball can. What can he do? Here comes the big toe. Is the Lexus going to punch out a big enough hole for him? Does not look like it's going to help him. Looks like he's actually losing time off of the two drivers. Michelle is done with the pits. Louis is still just serving it a little bit. So Michelle is going to come out in a weird spot now in this group where he's going to come out. I believe, where is Michelle? Oh, wow, he's actually not out yet. That pit lane is super strong. And Farmer's in the pits, ladies and gentlemen. So this may help him overall, depending on how track position is. As we see, Louis still in the pits. Farmer just entered. Kimball still looking to possibly make something happen, but Kevin Tarrant just sets his car up so beautifully into these turns and the drivers don't know what to do and how to set themselves up to cover here as we watch the drivers work their way around, as this is the closest battle on the track here as this keeps going here. Josh Kimball's like, you need to move now, as he's working his way onto the back straight. And a little bit of the short shoot. He's going to try something on the outside, possibly. No, he doesn't. Here comes the switchback. Is he going to go wide into in? Bruce Hopkins catching the brakes a little bit more than usual because of the checkup as they make their way through. Farmer is possibly going to be coming out of the pits around where these guys are. Or maybe a little bit sooner. We'll have to see where Farmer works his way out of the grid. There you see Farmer in the pit lane over by the timing booth. As they come into turn one, is Farmer. Ooh, Farmer's going to have to work his way through traffic depending on how everybody else's strategy plays out. And they go through two to now all over the back end of Brian Douglas. So we know he's going to want to try to recover as much as we can. Alex is into the pits. So Alex is going for the deeper strategy cut compared to Farmer. Farmer went in a little bit early. So P1 is in the pit. Michelle still sitting there, P15. Farmer sliding himself P12 so far, but we do know a lot of the drivers in front of him do have to serve their pits as they work their way through in this grid order. So this is definitely going to be a huge one for the drivers to try to make something happen. As we see Andrew Cooper in the background trying to reel in these P9, P10, P11 drivers and to try to possibly get something to go on. This is definitely super tight for these drivers as they work their way through. As Bruno Pio, the P5 driver, he's diving into the pits. Same with Chrysler York, he's diving into the pits. Here comes Fife Kimball going super wide into that corner as Kevin Trotz nicely places that car just in a spot where it's definitely not going to, help them as Farmer makes his way past Andrew Cooper, and he is along for the ride and is going. So now Farmer is definitely going to have to try to make something happen to get past Tim Wilkins, I believe. We'll jump down and see here. Farmer still needing to work his way around Tim Wilkins as well. Alan Zhu has already served his pits. So as everything starts to develop here, let's take a look. What else do we have? James Parks. James Parks looking to make some moves. Actually, no, James Parks showed him he's going to dive into the pits. Now we're going to go back to this battle here. As Kimball, as the leader came out in between them. Well, the provisional leader, because he was provisionally leading the race, he manages to slap past this big group. This is definitely going to help him in the long run to push. As Josh Kimball, something happened to Josh Kimball. There's a little bit of an issue with Kevin Tarrant in the race. Looks like he possibly spun him on accident. He tried to wait up to hope to recover, but could not manage to get going. So he's going to have to keep driving there's only what Little Taquito says, what up in the chat. Taquito, we really wish you could be here racing with us. As the drivers work their way through here. So let's take a look. Afonso's in the pits. LaCruz is in the pits. Taquito, we should get you in let's get you in the comms booth, Taquito. Let's get you in the comms booth. I want to hear a driver's point of view in this race. Now let's take a look at Kevin Tarrant's here. Kevin Tarrant's covering, Alan Zhu around him. There goes Tim Wilkins. Which one of these drivers, Tim Wilkins and him, they're still battling. None of these drivers playing into pit so far, but this battle is still developing with everybody as they work their way onto the back straight. Now, Farmer did get past these drivers, so this is definitely going to help. As Kimball and Cooper all dive into the pit, so now we're going to start seeing the cycle of I hate this track. Taquito, I don't want to hear the I don't word. It's horrible that you're saying that. Track's gone up 3 degrees Celsius, so I bet you a lot of these drivers are having issues. Ooh, it's Tim Wilkins definitely covering that brake super late. Well, Taquito, you waited too long, and it would be almost pointless for you to join the server. Come join me in the comms booth. I'll stream the race for you. As we see Kevin Tarrant and Tim Wilkins now battling. Oh, Tim Wilkins gets a beautiful run, but Kevin Tarrant masterfully puts the car right in that spot. It's definitely one of those where it's like it throws you off as a driver because you get this beautiful run, but then their car starts to slide out in that spot where you're just like, why? Why me? As we have Casey Bennett, Brian Douglas, Bruce Hopkins, Kevin Tarrant, and Tim Wilkins, and aside other than Mauricio, that have yet to pit, they are going for the super long strategy here in this race. Brian Douglas, we've seen it throughout the season here. He is the last person to um, um, whatchamacallit, usually is the last person to dive in the pits. And speaking of it, Hopkins dives into the pits. So now we're down to 5 people that need to dive in the pits. And Pacific Northwest SimSport says, what's the spectate pattern? GTMR spec, Taquito. GTMR spec is the spectator password for the server. Says temporize. Yep, starting at 12 noon is a good clue. Yes, it is. It is a very good clue of when if the temperature is going to rise, but usually around 1:20 p.m. the temperature usually drops off, not gain 2 degrees Celsius here in this race. So that's possibly what has happened to a lot of these drivers. And here we go. Casey Bennett is in the pits as they work their way through. Farmer lost a lot of time to Arduin. Now 13 seconds off the pace of him. So that's definitely going to be a tough call to make here for him of how he wants to pursue the push in this race. Tim Wilkins still trying to make something happen to Kevin Tarrant. So the question is whether or not he is going to try to make a last-minute judgment call and to send it, or possibly, you know, just dive into the pits and then hope for the best that Kevin Tarrant loses it, being passed up by some of the drivers that are faster, like Bruno Pio, the P7 driver right behind them. Bruno Pio looking super quick and fast as we have joined into the comms booth. Mr. Aiden Hasbrock himself, aka Little Taquito. Welcome to the comms booth. It's wonderful. And how are you today, sir?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful as we start to see these drivers and everything. We had a little bit of a tussle and a little bit of a build-up here at the start of the race, but everything seems to be going not according to plan. Farmer, straight pole position here at Indianapolis, showing a very strong, dominant performance with the NSX like most of the tracks this season, but it seems like his tire deg has started to drop off to where Alex actually manages to get past him right around the 40-minute left barrier, and Farmer has dropped actually he dropped about two seconds before he dove into the pits. Now as a driver, of course, you know what I mean, the last thing you want to do is, you know, lose that much pace, especially being in the front pack of the grid. As we're saying this, Bruno Pio is trying to get past these drivers that have yet to pit, and Kevin Tarrant is just closing every door Tim Wilkins possibly can get. And speaking of that, Tim Wilkins makes it through, but Kevin Tarrant is going to try to take the fight back. Now, as we see Michelle, this battle for P6 now between Pio and Michelle. Now, Michelle is going to try to send it up on the inside of Kevin Tarrant. He's going to make it stick here. And Kevin Tarrant's definitely pushing the envelope of when he was going to pit. And Pio goes super late, almost rear-ending the back end of Tim Wilkins. Now, as a driver, especially, you know, driver that's usually in the top 5, top 10 or whatnot, when you get into these different pit strategies where you have drivers like Tim Wilkins where they want to push the distance of their pit window. And, you know, we all understand, of course, you're all racing for position, so you always want to try to make something happen. Now, how tough is it for you as a driver where, you know, you're trying to get past the guy that still has yet to serve the pit, but you're also being attacked by a guy that has already served a pit that it's also for position?
Yeah, it's a little bit weird because I mean, like you're quicker than them, or like most of the time you are, and you know it's for position, but like not really. It's kind of weird having to navigate it. Like you want to be careful, you don't want to ruin anything for them, but you can't be too conservative. You have to go after him.
Yeah. As we see, Michelle has managed his way past.
Oh, Louis just punted LaRoque.
Ooh, and that is definitely going to be a tough one.
Brian Douglas.
Brian Douglas? Ooh,
Hold
Brian
on.
Douglas. Nope, Brian Douglas just came out of the pits. As now we just have Tim Wilkins and Kevin Tarrant. And it looks like
in a lap car.
it was a lap car.
Yeah, it was Danilo Onisto.
Okay.
How do you change the camera like the overview? I'm trying to figure it out.
Oh, F3 goes to the chase, and if you press F2, it'll switch over to the broadcasting view.
Thank you. I was trying to figure that out.
No problem. Always here to help other commentators that have joined the fray. As we see right now, the biggest battle in front of us is Kevin Tarrant. Where is Kevin?
I'm in the pit.
He has dove into the pits. Tim Wilkins, the last man standing with 20 minutes left and 10 minutes left of the pit window. He is staying out, which is definitely interesting. But now we're also watching Jacob Michel take the battle to Bruno Pio here. And Farmer is 14.3 seconds off the pace of Arduin. And Arduin is just, he's actually stretched the gap out from last lap, which was originally 13 seconds. I mean, this is definitely an interesting one that we really don't see overall in this championship fight. But from what I've been told by some of the drivers, this track likes to eat up the tires.
Yeah, I know that Farmer will be struggling, or probably is struggling. The Honda's pretty bad on its tires, and this track is awful on the left side. I'm not shocked that he's fallen down a little bit. The Aston Martin's normally not great either, but Ardoin's able to hold on and do his thing.
Yes, it is amazing to see, and especially, you know, with the different grid order of the manufacturers here racing with us. Now, this is definitely going to help out Arduin in the championship, as Arduin, I believe, is... I know Farmer is 11 points off the pace of Wilson Fernandez, so this will definitely help him there. Definitely jump up that grid order and try to make something happen here. So let's take a look at the standings so far in this championship series. Alex Arduin is at 36 points and Farmer's at 60. So with that 25 points, that'll put him right around 60. That'll bridge that a little bit of that gap between them and Wilson here. He was not into round one, so it's definitely helping him out a lot. But the question is how much is this actually, you know, can Farmer keep up this pace, or is he going to over push the car to where, you know, he's gonna lose out a lot of points here?
Right now he should be good. He should be near, if not beating. He said he was 11 points back of Fernandez, right?
Yes, he is 11 points.
Right now he'll be ahead. As long as he can hold on now, he'll be in a good spot.
But here he's dropped now to 15.5 here in this race. And it looks that Bruno Pio is, let's take a look. Bruno Pio is 15.6 from Farmer. So there's a big gap between both all the drivers. But still, it is definitely something that is, you know, as a driver when you're racing, I'm pretty sure, you know, you've had this before where it's like, you know, you're like 15 away from one guy, 15 away from another guy. Even if you're like 3 and 3, it's like you want to find that happy median of how fast you push it and how fast you not push it.
Yeah, I think at this point, if you're more than 10 seconds behind them, then you just kind of chill out. If you have like a big gap, just in front and behind, just calm down and just finish it. And you really can't do anything unless, you know, something wild happens, which most likely won't happen. Oh, Andrew Cooper just had
and does he save it and not pull out on the track? He does manage to save it, thankfully. And let's take a look at Mathis Tuda, who is right behind Louis. Mathis Tuda actually had a drive-through at the start of the race and managed to recover with 17 minutes left of this race. And he's sitting P11 looking to strike gold here if he can get past Louis with some top 10 points. For those that do not know, at GT Meister Racing, we actually base our points off of the MotoGP standing points. So you'll see a lot of the drivers scoring from 1 through 15 here in this race series. Now, Tim Wilkins still P6, still has yet to serve his pit. Andrew Jaschke now P7. Oh, as we're going to jump back.
Tuda's getting a good run on Benora here around the outside. He can hold it. I don't know.
Ooh.
He's got it.
And he shut the door and managed to pull away. That's definitely one of those tricky corners because of the fact of that giant, massive curve on the inside. Now we're going to jump along board P7. Andrew Jaschke, he manages to get himself past Tim Wilkins. So does Casey Bennett. Casey Bennett is having a beautiful drive with this Porsche, which, I mean, huge shout out to this man who has solely only raced the BMW and has fully committed himself with what I believe to be considered as the hardest car to drive in the game, which is the Porsche, because it is so, in my opinion, setup dependent. And for him to have such good success so far in this series is truly awesome. But I'm curious on how he's going to be able to line up Andrew Jaschke in that Audi, and he is all over the back end of him because they also have a back marker of Alan Zhu that's P18 right in front of him, and right in front of Alan Zhu is also Andrew Cooper, which is also for a battle for position. So this track is truly developing super strong competition battles here in this race. Now, as
Backmarker could play a role here in the big braking zone right here.
Yes.
See how Jaschke will deal with it.
Casey looking on the inside line.
I think the Porsche's letting him go.
Alan Zhu is allowing him to keep going here in this battle. As we see Mauricio down in the back there making his way around Tim Wilkins. Tim Wilkins still has yet to serve his pit with 4 minutes and 40 seconds left to play. I'm curious if during that time when the drivers were all making their moves around Tim Wilkins, if Tim Wilkins, he wanted to go into the pits, but now he has to check out of that due to the fact that, you know, he's not right there for that pit strategy here. As we still see Casey Bennett all over the back end of that Audi, and they go through. Now, as a driver, he's usually, you know, last season you won the championship, the season prior you won the championship. When you're battling two drivers, and you have two drivers, as we see Tim finally dive into the pits with 4 minutes left of the pit window, when you're battling when you're battling a car, and then you get up to a back marking group that's battling two more, like they're battling also. I mean, I get it. You have to power through and work your way through the grid and try your best. But at what point do you just sit there and you're like, you know, you kind of like in game waving your hand like, hey, let's stop fighting real quick, get past these guys and keep going. And how much of it is you to where you have to readjust your lines possibly to make the moves?
Kind of depends on where you're at. If you're behind the back marker, then, you know, it's like, how do I get by him like as efficiently as I can and not lose?
Oh, as Casey Bennett catches the back end of Andrew Jaschke, when that's going to allow everyone
to go. Yep.
But thankfully, Casey Bennett and Andrew Jaschke waited. Casey Bennett waited up, you know, due to the fact of that. But that's also going to mess it up because now you have Alan Zhu and Alex LaCrue. He is now caught up to possibly the back end of Casey Bennett, as Casey Bennett, so aero dependent in that Porsche, has possibly a dent in there. So now Casey Bennett's going to have to try to, depending on how much damage he has, he's going to have to try to recover from that.
I think Casey will be okay. Just have to catch back up to Jaschke, which might take a little bit. I'm not sure how much that's really going to hurt him. So we'll find out here.
Well, it looks like Alan Zhu is going to leave possibly the door open for Casey Bennett to make the run up to the corner into turn one. Casey's definitely looking for it. He's going to send it down, and there comes out Tim Wilkins right behind Alan Zhu. Coming out of the pits there. We're going to jump back up the grid to P4 to Jacob Michel as he's still trying to work his way behind Bruno Pio.
Third and fourth are right there. Michel is caught up back up to Pio.
was curious to see if, where Michelle's possibly going to try to make his move because, the one
I
thing,
think will be good.
yeah, because the one thing I have learned so far in this game is the fact that the McLaren is probably, while you have to drive it on a knife's edge, it's very stable due to the fact that it has such a long wheelbase. Like, it's so planted at times if you're not trying to push it. Ooh, as the McLaren
It
goes
goes a
deep,
little
you can
bit
hear it.
deep.
Well,
Switchback. Oh no.
possibly.
Theo blocked it off. Looking for a dive bomb here into turn 1. I think that Merc might have the
Ooh,
advantage
he's
of the
going to
straight
force him.
line.
He's going to force Pio to cover the inside.
Not sure he's gonna be able to do it. Who's
Oh,
gonna break later? Michelle's gonna back out of it.
now with the braking of the McLaren, you'd expect not really expect, but you'd think that the Mercedes driver would try to test the braking zone of that McLaren because that McLaren is really, really has really horrible brakes in my opinion.
McLaren, it's you can brake late in it. It's just you have to brake the right way, or else the car will not do what you want it to do.
Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of a very fine line in between, like completely locking up and getting it right. It takes quite a bit of time to get right.
Mm-hmm. So we see Michelle still all over the back end of Bruno Pio, the Brazilian driver that has joined us from the Wilson Fernandez group. Huge shout out to Wilson Fernandez, inviting a lot of his friends that he knows to come race with us in our North American League. Huge shout out to them participating. So we take a look. Let's see what's going to happen. It looks like this battle is slowly not developing as we see Lecroc in P9. He's about 5/10 off the pace of Mathis Tuda in that P8 spot. We're going to jump back down there and keep an eye on this.
Ninth or right.
Ooh,
Oh, Tudor went
Tuda.
off track.
Here comes
That's
Alex.
allow.
So we see Tim Wilkins.
Gets by him.
Yeah, Tim Wilkins, P18, trying to recover in this race as we see Mauricio, P17. That battle's developing. So now Alex is going to have to try to get past Tim Wilkins, which Tim Wilkins is a very hard driver to pass in this series. So that's definitely one of those things that's going to happen. Now, for me as a driver, where you're in this spot where you're 10 seconds behind P18, or you're P18, you're 10 seconds behind P17, and P19 is nowhere to be found. I mean, for me, I would pretty much just move over on the straight, let the two guys battle because, what's happening right now, in my opinion, is you got two faster guys. Now you're trying to run your line harder. You know what I mean? And then with that, there causes a little bit of issues as you can see Tuda right there, definitely checking up.
In 16th and 17th right now between Andrew Cooper and Mauricio.
And looks like those two drivers got past and they're working their way through.
Just got by him.
So let's see, Mauricio.
They were nose and tail there for a little bit, and then Jashi got by Mauricio.
And that's going to also allow Casey Bennett to catch up to these guys. So now we're back into the same fray of things, of the two of a double challenge race here. So we know Mauricio has the pace. We saw it in qualifying. Oh, Andrew Cooper loses it. Oh. Now the question is does Mauricio help out Casey Bennett and take the fight to Andrew Jaschke, causing Jaschke, to mess up a little bit? Or does Mauricio give up the position to Casey Bennett due to the fact that this battle is for a P6 in this overall championship race?
Same manufacturer, but I'm not sure that's really going to matter here.
No, it doesn't. It seems to be a dog-eat-dog kind of world as these drivers are working their way through the grid.
Bruno Pio's doing a good job of keeping Michelle behind him at bay. He's got a little bit of a gap on him.
says right now about a second, but Mathis Tuda is still all over the back end of Alex. But right now, this battle, which is not for position but is for position, is growing really well, because right now Andrew Jaschke is probably trying to figure out, how do I set my car up so I don't kind of fail. But then curious if Casey Bennett is pretty much checked up with this race, because he knows he's going to have to try to get first past Mauricio, and then he's going to have to try to figure out how to get past Andrew Jaschke.
The 8th and 9th battle is a lap car between Tuda. Oh, they got by him, and LaRoque.
But
Tuda's all over LaRoque.
Even though they got past the back marker, Tim Wilkins and Andrew Cooper, that's also for position. So now everything is starting to develop towards the end of the race with 6 minutes left to go. Tuda's trying the outside line, trying to throw off some of these drivers. Ooh, Alex goes super wide. Tuda down on the inside.
Keep it clean. Got it.
What a beautiful move. Finally, Tuda gets past Alex and separates himself in that battle, in that race. Let's take a look. Andrew Cooper now all over the back end of Alex as they work their way down the back straight, but we're going to jump along board with Jacob Michel, the P4 racer, as he is still all over the back end of him with 5 minutes left to go. Doesn't seem like Farmer has had a chance to reel in Alex Ardoin in this race.
Running out for Casey Bennett here.
Yeah, Casey Bennett definitely. Let's jump back down to him. Number 918. He has gotten past the Porsche. Ooh, a little bit of tail wiggle in that red Porsche as he works his way in the midfield section. Ooh, let's see, what can the Audi do? See, the Audi gets a beautiful run, but I do know the Audi has bad tires. So Andrew Cooper is around again. So he's going to fall further down the grid order. Looks like he had a little bit of incident getting onto the actual normal main straight, so he's going to fall down.
Michel's all over Pio now. He's gaining back up on him.
So we're going to switch back over to Bruno Pio in a second, and we are here. So right now the battle is...
Oh, and Casey Bennett's all over Jaschke as well.
So I'm going to have you watch... I'm going to jump over to the Casey Bennett battle. I'm going to have you watch the Michel battle. Let me know if that develops even further. Because right now they are all freight. These three drivers are freight training themselves down the main straight here. And this is just looking super strong. As Casey Bennett, the question is where is he going to pick his place? Because Andrew Jaschke, you know, the problem with that Audi is because it's got such a short wheelbase, in my opinion, a little bit too much braking markers, the back end of the car tends to step out a little bit too much. And Casey Bennett during qualifying has been able to... Oh, Casey Bennett loses it! Oh, and into the wall! Oh, he just has to manage to survive for 3 minutes left in this race, possibly, and he could still come home with a P7. He's 10 seconds still ahead of Mathis Tuda. So if there isn't a whole lot of damage, he could still... He's gonna have a messed up wheel in that car. That wheel is gonna be cocked. Let's take a look on the inside.
Michel's right on the back of Pio here, coming into the second to final corner.
Here we go. Now we're on board with Michel versus Bruno Pio. This is for the podium with 3 minutes and 19 seconds left to go. Is he going to try to break into that final corner? I mean, I would send it into turn one. I would try to outbrake it, at least entertain the idea, you know. Maybe you can cause the McLaren driver to go a little bit wide there, because clearly it seems like the McLaren is running a low enough wing to where he can really hold a lot of his like pace on the main straights.
I'm trying to figure out...
Now Tuda is all over the back end of Casey Bennett for that position for P7 with 2 minutes left to play. So Casey Bennett, the question is where is he going to come out? Because Lecroc is P9. I don't think Louis is going to catch him with 2 minutes remaining. But right now this battle for P3 is spicing up.
think we'll have 2 to go.
It's showing that he's picking up time on him. Here he
like
goes
Michelle's
through.
a lot better
Ooh.
here in the chicane.
Yes, very much so.
Break zone.
Now can he match the... Ooh, gets a little bit of a wiggle. That's the downfall with the Mercedes. Too much throttle in the back end steps. Onto the front straight they go. I don't think he's going to try to make a move and send it. If he does, I'd be shocked.
Too far back.
He's got to try to, like, either brake later or something to try to match the braking. And it looks like Tuda did get past Casey Bennett. Now LaCrue is on the back end of Casey Bennett here. He's about 1.2 seconds out. So that'll be definitely... Ooh, as he goes super deep into the corner. He is trying to make Bruno Pio have a mistake here in this race.
I think the final sector is where he needs to get it done because a bunch of low-speed corners there. The McLaren's
Yeah, we have 50.
bad and low speed.
We have 50 seconds left to play in the timer. The final lap flag has not been waved.
Final lap. So we got about a lap and a half left for this P3 battle.
Ooh, here he goes. Through P1 just went through turn 1.
Wouldn't be shocked to see a move here. McLaren's
Here they
pretty bad
go.
here. He's
Ooh,
defending around the
he
outside.
switches.
Switch
Can he
back.
get a run? Ooh, he makes it stick.
Ooh.
Oh, but he leaves the space. The space. Michelle covers, closes the door.
Got it.
Now can the McLaren driver take the battle back? There's 10 seconds remaining left in the race. Are they going to cross the line with enough time? Well, they will have one extra lap after this.
Yeah, they will.
So Bruno Pio now trying to take the fight to get back up on the podium here with the final lap of the race. Down into turn 1. Bruno looking super strong in that McLaren. Michelle definitely losing the back end a little bit coming out of that turn 2. Like going into mid part of that turn 2. And that McLaren's just super stable right there.
Yeah, it looks like Michelle's fighting the car quite a bit.
He definitely set up a better line in this lap than he did on the last lap for defense. Using a little bit of the brake through that corner.
Got a little bit too narrow for the entry of that corner. Couldn't get back over to get the best exit for this corner, or for the straight, I mean.
Now here we go through the S's. How well is Michelle going to keep it through the S's here as he catches a lot of that dirt there, which usually you don't really want to do with the Mercedes. But he is using
Michelle goes off track.
Yep.
Shouldn't hurt him though.
And Alex Arduin has won this race at Indianapolis for P1, so we're going to keep along with this battle.
P2. Looks like Michelle's going to hold on for P3.
Let's see. Looks
POP
like he
4
will.
on P5.
Yeah, Michelle holding it in there. And they cross the line. Michelle P3. Let's take a look. Where is Andre Alex Afonso? Is there any other closer battles? There is. Chrysler Yort and Andrew Cooper. Here we go. Battle towards the end. Chrysler Yort. He had been doing this as an endurance. He's got Louis in front of him. But how much is Louis going to hold him back here in this race? Because Cooper, you know he's going to want to try to make something happen and possibly use Louis as a... Here comes York down the inside. Sends it. Oh, that was a very audacious move right there, especially down on the inside. If there was a send, that was the send of all sends.
Cooper and our team are going to the line here.
Yeah. Our team's going to finish out in P11. Cooper's going to bring home the car in P18.
Louis was right there to get P10 if something happened.
Yeah, Louis was caught up during the Andrew Cooper and Chrysler Yort send in the second to last corner in the race. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Alex, are doing your race winner in the Aston Martin. We're going to try to get the drivers in here for their podium interview. So we will be right back, ladies and gentlemen. Just give us a second. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back, and it is awesome to have everybody here. I apologize. Click the wrong microphone button, so I was hearing myself. And because I guess you guys don't want to hear from me, so we will get to our podium finishers and our P2 finisher, Farmer, who had put the car on pole here in Indianapolis. Didn't seem like the racing gods really wanted him to pull out the win here. Farmer, talk us through your race, because this is what we saw during the race. Alex kept you to about a 1.8 second gap. Then all of a sudden, your gap started to come down a little bit, and then Alex managed to make him to stick a move to get past you, but it seemed as if your tires dropped off dramatically after that because you started losing pace and fell back 2.1 seconds ish around there before you decided to pit.
Yeah, a great race, everyone, and congratulations to Michel on the podium. I know he's been trying super hard, but yeah, the race was fine. The practice was good. The qualifying was really good, and the car felt okay. And then during the race, it was fine, and I kept the gap at 1.7. I had to run a different TC in the ABS and the bias just for the race. I got a bit of advice, and then I had just one bad snap oversteer in one of the corners, and then he closed the gap, and then then the tires fell off, but they fell off for him at the same time, so it wasn't almost like, oh, just my tires fell off. I could see when I made a mistake, he made a mistake, and when he lost some pace, I lost some pace and gained. But I had one mistake, and I knew I couldn't lead at that pace, and then I had a sloppy defense when he was lining me up for the move, and I think I dipped a wheel on the dirt, and then I just gave up. And then after that, I was going to chase him down a little, but I think he braked a little early, and I was going to hit him, and I missed, and I hit my braking marker, but I decided to go a little off. And then after that, there was no rhythm. I gave up completely. The tires fell off, but the temperatures and the track temps, everything was fine. So I think it was just me getting used to the TC a little higher, and
Okay.
and then when I was after my pit stop, I got smoked by Alex Cooper. He made a honest mistake, and he hit me, and then I spun out and lost a bunch of time, and I don't know if it was on the stream, and
No.
then I got held up a bit later. So, but it was okay because I saw the standings, and I thought I was gonna have another Donington qualify lower, like finish third or fourth. So I'm super happy with the second place.
Nice. Well, congratulations on your P2. Now we're going to jump along board over
Yeah.
to our first time podium finisher, the man who has had probably the worst success rate I've ever seen anybody in a league race get on a podium for being fast. Mr. Michelle himself, or AKA Wahman, in the Discord. Congratulations on your P3 finish. You and Bruno, PO, were battling it out for, I would probably say, the whole entire race when you guys decided to get together for P3. Wahman, I mean, talk us through the actual, like, that final part of it, because we honestly thought, both myself and Aiden, we thought you were gonna try to make some sort of move or take advantage to the McLarens, you know, a little bit, in a sense, horrible braking, abilities.
Yeah. When I was following PO, I noticed I was really fast in sector 3 compared to him. So I was just using each lap to see what his lines were. But towards the end, I got an engine issue and 2 punctures.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but I guess PO also had some problems because I was able to keep pace with him. But yeah, I just noticed I was really fast through the last few turns.
Mhm.
So I just tried to put some pressure on him in sector 3. Luckily, he went wide. I think it was second to last lap. So
Okay.
yeah.
Well, congratulations to your first ever podium at GTMR. I know you've had a couple podiums from when we were back in the day in the BRL days, but congratulations on your P3 finish. Hopefully, we can see you going into success and you can take this momentum through the break week of next week and then into Silverstone, which is our next race. So hopefully we can see you back up on the top spot there. And now we are going to move along to our race winner, Alex Arduin, in the Aston Martin, one of the oddball cars that we never really thought we'd see up on the grid here. Huge shout out to Alex, getting past Farmer in the race. Definitely keeping your composure and especially playing out your pit strategy. Talk us through the race, because it seemed like some drivers got caught up in picking the wrong exact time, but it seemed like you just somehow managed to nail the perfect pit time.
Yeah, the pit strategy at this particular track is a little odd because you spend so long in the pit lane limiter that you would think that if you try and do an undercut you might come out at a good spot, but the placement on track is hard to figure out where you're going to come out at. But with the strategy, I just decided to pit the next lap after Farmer did. The tire wear here seems to be pretty severe. I noticed that he was struggling with tires, as I suspected he might, and I didn't want to risk him getting more than a lap or two on nice fresh tires while I was still running around on aged tires. But I saw that he got collected in some mishap or something on his outlap, so I got fortunate with that. It was very unlucky for him, because we had a good little battle going. It would have been interesting to see how the rest of the race would have played out. I was pretty confident in the ability to keep the rear tires under my car, and I even made a few setup adjustments to prolong the life of the rears. So I knew that I could run high 35s, low 36s pretty much all day. In fact, I think my last lap of the race itself was only like 3.5 tenths slower than my best lap of the day or so.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it was, once I saw that I had a large gap back to second, because of the incident that Farmer got collected in, I just, put my head down, made smooth, consistent laps, just, make sure that, limit the mistakes for 30 minutes and, take what, unfortunately for everyone else, it was kind of a lonely win. Just I think we all got deprived of potentially a good scenario with Farmer and I, that seeing how that would have played out all the way to the end, because I think that's a good race, and we always seem to be able to race each other pretty clean and respectfully, and I think that would have been a good show for everybody. So it's a little disappointing not to see that. But congratulations to Farmer and Michelle on their podiums, and hopefully some good momentum carry into the next rounds.
Agreed, 100%, and that is going to cover it for us. As we will be going into next week as a break week. For those that do not know, we have 8 races in the middle week. In between 4 and 5 is a break week, and you will see us in 2 weeks. We will be going to Silverstone as that starts part of our bigger track series as we start to progress through the remainder of the British and American tracks here in the battles. And my name's Exia, and I want to say thank you for all the viewers that watched. If you'd like to check us out at SimGrid and or Grid Finder. You'll find us by clicking the host button and scrolling through to find GT Meister Racing. I hope you guys have a wonderful night and take care.